Welcome back, and this is the Van Eck CEO stating this.
Ultimately, Van Eck has been around before Bitcoin. We will walk away from Bitcoin if we think the thesis is fundamentally broken. We don't.
Now, in today's video, we're going to be exploring how everything in crypto has changed. We are now, in my view, and we have covered this for many months now, we are now in the downtrend phase as we are exiting the bull market and entering the bear market. This can take up to 1 year. And based on the Bitcoin halving tracker, which is on the screen right now, everything has played out exactly as we have laid out on this channel since the middle of 2025 when we called the top of the market. Now, was it the Pico top of the market? Absolutely not. But you guys know, who watch my videos on a regular basis, that we have been so accurate on our calls based on the data. But now we have the bulls bringing up every possible scenario of why this bank is trying to manipulate the price of Bitcoin, or why MicroStrategy is just pulling back on the price, or why the bulls are not, getting out of the market. The whales haven't been selling their crypto. And this is all, in my view, when we look at the psychological market charts, this is the anxiety and denial phase about where we are. In today's video, we're going to be exploring how everything has changed. I am out of crypto for the most part. I am betting to the downside overall in the markets, right? Because that is where we are in the cycle, and it's the macro cycle. It's not just Bitcoin, it's also the AI situation, the AI bubble, the hyperscalers, the Bitcoin mining companies that have pivoted to AI. So we're gonna be exploring all of that in today's video. Make sure you guys are subscribed. That way you never miss a new video. We upload every single day of the year to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. And if you guys have been watching these videos for any length of time, you guys have been way ahead of the entire market. Because, by the way, give the video a free thumbs up as well. Let's get into today's video right now. Now, like I said, you guys are way ahead. We knew this was going to occur in the markets from months ago. I mean, really from years ago, because we understand where the cycle operates, how the cycle operates, and we understand 18 months or 550 days after the Bitcoin halving is historically the end of the bull cycle before we rotate into a bear market, have a 1-year downtrend, and then reverse. Could this time be different? Absolutely. But right now, everything has changed, and this time is not different. And so that brings us to how we're going to start today's video with Van Eck CEO Jan Van Eck, where he talks about Bitcoin, where he talks about what is going on in the larger financial world. Because if you're a maximalist, it's very hard to, I follow accounts that they will like clip a tiny piece of a 1-hour video of, let's say, Raoul Pal, and say, you see, this is what happened. Or they'll take Jack Mallers, who's talking about 21 transitioning to a Bitcoin treasury company back at the beginning of 2025, and repost the video at the end of 2025 and says, breaking, Jack Mallers just said that Bitcoin's going to 1 million. And it's like, okay, but he said that almost a year ago, and we're still not at 1 million, and we're still downtrending. And so the bulls will always be bulls, but we are neutral analysts and investors in the market. We don't care whether the market goes up. I mean, obviously we do. We want our portfolios to go up, but it doesn't matter whether the market goes up or down. We can make money on either side of it, right? And just because the market goes down, just because the price of crypto or Bitcoin goes down, doesn't mean the technology is going away. This is a big difference between maximalism and developers in the ecosystems and investors. We are here to make money. They're here to sell you something, right? And it's usually their coins, because the whales have been selling since the middle of the year. And meanwhile, even people who watch my videos, because I posted polls here on my YouTube channel, saying, have the whales sold their Bitcoin already? And people are like, no, they haven't sold their Bitcoin. What are you talking about, Cryptoviser? And I'm like, no, like the data is there. It's very clear that they have been selling their Bitcoin. I mean, what do these bulls not get yet? But anyway, we're here to make money. So it doesn't matter what the bulls think. It doesn't matter what the bears think. It doesn't even really matter what I think. It matters what's in your portfolio. That's the only thing that matters. Because the market is going to determine what is the right thing, what is going to occur. And a lot of it is really out of our control, right? And this is where, when we listen to the banks and the financial institutions talking, they're thinking the same thing, right? JP Morgan doesn't give a shit if you want to buy Bitcoin or not. They'll let you buy Bitcoin. that doesn't mean that they're not going to trade against you, right? You want to buy MicroStrategy? Buy MicroStrategy. Ignore all the risks, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to report in their analysis reports on what the risks are. And we're going to get to MicroStrategy and these digital asset treasury companies in a few minutes. But before we go there, let's listen to the VanEck CEO talking about Bitcoin, as Bitcoin has crashed from over $126,000 to under $90,000. Let's listen in. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up because it's free to do. And crypto is obviously not free, but thumbs up are. Let's listen in.
There's something else going on within the Bitcoin community that kind of non-crypto people need to know about. And that is, ultimately, VanEck has been around before Bitcoin. We will walk away from Bitcoin if we think the thesis is fundamentally broken. We don't right now. But you always have to look at the underlying technology. And the Bitcoin community has been asking itself about, is there enough encryption in Bitcoin? Because quantum computing is coming.
Yep.
And then secondly, is there enough privacy in Bitcoin? And so a lot of Bitcoin OGs or maxis have been looking at Zcash. And Zcash,
what's that?
Zcash is a token. It's sort of related to Bitcoin with a lot more privacy. Because the kind of garbage that we got about Bitcoin 4 years ago is it's like used for all bad illicit behavior. But now everyone kind of realizes when you move money around on the Bitcoin blockchain, you can see it. You can see it move from one wallet to another. And a lot of people are looking for more privacy. There's something else.
So you heard right at the beginning of what he was saying that effectively they will walk away from Bitcoin if they believe the thesis is fundamentally broken. Currently they don't, right? Because, and again, that doesn't mean that we're not going into a bear market. That doesn't mean we're not going lower in the prices. It just means that their long-term projections, and you have to understand the banks and all of this, like their projections and thesis are much longer dated than probably many of us, right? We are here to make money in the markets, to increase our wealth, to pay off debt, to pay off our student loans, a home, or whatever the situation is, protect our retirement. They are just, in this for the longer term. They don't care whether this happens over the long term, short term. They don't care if they lose money, make money. They're getting in everything. They're in every aspect of the market, whether it's AI, whether it's crypto, whether it's tech, whether it's food, whether it's retail, whether it's supply chain, whatever it is, they are in the markets because they want a piece of the pie. And that brings us to Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio was recently on, I think this was recent, CNBC. Well, we can see from the Bitcoin prices. We'll see in a few minutes. Cypher was $16. So yeah, fairly recently. And it says, I have a small percentage of Bitcoin I've had forever, like 1% of my portfolio. And if you think about, the crypto community, I mean, most crypto people are very, very heavily into the market. He said, I've said the same thing over and over about Bitcoin. I think the problem of Bitcoin, it's not going to be a reserve currency for major countries because it can be tracked. And it could be conceivably with quantum computing controlled, hacked, and so on and so forth. And so this idea, right? Even Cathie Wood recently reduced the ARK Invest thesis or projections for 2030 on the Bitcoin price, reducing it by 30% from $1 million price projection by 2030, which is the next cycle, to $700,000. And specifically, she said, because stable coins have taken a lot of what they thought Bitcoin would be used for, because Bitcoin is not being used for payments. It's not being used really for anything else besides a store of value and the price go up, right? I mean, all of the narratives have completely collapsed around what Bitcoin is actually going to be used for. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's not bad for Bitcoin to be a store of value. We need store, and we have had stores of value in the past. But the banks are using stable coins. Companies are going to use stable coins. They're going to transact in stable coins, not Bitcoin, and not even used on the Bitcoin network. And so this idea, and by the way, there's also the concern about quantum, because if quantum gets good enough, and it may already be in some cases, it can break the Bitcoin encryption. And in my view, and clearly Ray Dalio has some concerns about this as well, the Bitcoin ecosystem has not addressed this issue. You can't wait until quantum is so good that it can break the quantum, break the Bitcoin encryption to then go fix it. You have to do it beforehand, because once it's there, it's going to be broken. And so that's really important to keep in mind. But again, this idea that the 4-year cycle is over, everything has changed in the markets, but the mindset of these bulls has not changed. And that is the signal of a non-investor. And these people we have to ignore. That brings us to this tweet. This tweet from Wick on X says, imagine seeing the 4-year cycle play out right in front of us on Bitcoin again and still regurgitating the same BS people have been saying about no more cycles. LOL. And I would completely agree. No more cycles. We have an extended cycle. The M2 money supply is continuing to grow as it always has. The business cycle is extended. All of this nonsense. But at the end of the day, the smart money, the big money are taking profits. We on this channel are out of crypto for the most part. We've been saying for the whole cycle, by the end of the cycle, we want to be out of crypto. And for the most part, that's where we're at. And a lot of that has to do with the manipulation in these markets, the promises that are never are kept, right? I mean, most altcoins have done absolutely nothing from a network perspective this cycle, nothing. And the prices show, right? I mean, pretty much no crypto. I mean, even the big ones like Solana, meme coins, celebrity coins, Haktua coin, the Argentina coin, everything a complete and utter disaster. That brings us to Hyperliquid and Aster or disaster. I mean, guys, this whole cycle has been just based on hopes and prayers, not actual technology. And this is why AI is pulling a lot of the money, a lot of the investment, a lot of the attention away from crypto this cycle, right? Why do you think all these Bitcoin mining companies pivoted away from Bitcoin? Because they know that we are going to be in a bear market, and they know in the previous cycle, many of these companies had to restructure, had to take out debt, or went bankrupt. Core Scientific was in bankruptcy in the last cycle. TerraWolf had to completely reevaluate and restructure all of their debt because they were about to go into bankruptcy as well. Because they all bought, they were hoarding Bitcoin at the top of the market instead of selling. They were all prepaying and pre-ordering Bitcoin mining machines at the top of the market in the end of 2021. And then in 2022, Bitcoin was in a bear market, low prices. They were selling their Bitcoin into that. Energy prices were going up, so they were making less money on these new Bitcoin mining machines that were already outdated by the time they received them. And it was a complete disaster. And so they've all pivoted to AI, and everybody's cheering this on, which is good if you're making money in those assets, right? TerraWolf, Iris Energy, Bitfarms, all these. But they're not pivoting away because they love AI. They're pivoting away because they need to sustain their business. And that brings us to Robert Kiyosaki, who has also said that we're going to hit 500,000, $1 million Bitcoin. And now he wrote at the end of November 2025, he said this on X. Robert Kiyosaki wrote, I sold $2.25 million in Bitcoin at approximately $90,000. I purchased the Bitcoin for $6,000 years ago. With the cash from Bitcoin, I'm purchasing 2 surgery centers and investing in a billboard business. I invested my $2.25 million Bitcoin investment into the surgery centers and billboard business, and they're going to positively cash flow approximately $27,500 a month by next February, tax-free. Adding this a month in income to my years of previous cash flow positive real estate-based businesses makes my cash flow cushion a bit fluffier into hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. I'm still very bullish and optimistic on Bitcoin and will begin acquiring more with my positive cash flow. This has been the My Get Rich plan since I began playing Monopoly with my rich dad over 65 years ago. Or for over 65 years. Well, same thing. Anyway, I'm not saying that my plan should be your plan. Warren Buffett would think my plan is too slow and foolish. Warren had his plan, as Donald Trump has his plan. What is your get-rich plan? And I would agree. Like, here's the deal, guys. As the market is dropping, right, the money doesn't disappear, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, Bitcoin's down to $80,000. Wow, we have to go back up. It's like, no. The money is moving. It doesn't disappear. Greg Manarino says it doesn't go to money heaven, right? The money moves, the money flows from one asset to another, right? Over the last 6 months, a lot of the money has moved from Bitcoin and crypto, generally speaking, into the AI sector. Bitcoin mining companies have pivoted to AI. AI companies. Now we're starting to potentially see the AI bubble popping or correcting. That money is not just disappearing. Smart money is moving into other assets. What other assets, you may ask? Well, I don't know. Maybe like what Robert Kiyosaki's doing, putting it into cash flowing businesses, maybe buying real estate as more real estate is coming on the market and people are needing to sell because Airbnb bubble popped. The property taxes and insurance rates are going up nationwide. You know, all of these kind of situations, the money flows from one asset class to another asset class. And it's either you stay in the asset class and lose the valuation and continue to say, no, Cryptoviser, we're not in a bear market, we're not moving down, even though we clearly have, or you do what the market does. And, you know, some of the money is flowing into betting against the market, right? Betting that the market's going to go down, buying ETFs or shorting stocks or buying puts into stocks. The money flows and the money rotates. We've already been seeing this, right? And some people get it, some people don't. And then we have this, okay? Now, first of all, Chris Bernisk said the era of digital asset treasury companies selling has only begun. Just as we went up, we too will go down. And effectively, he's saying that digital asset treasury companies buying and saying that we're never going to sell any of our crypto, it's just not true. We now have multiple companies, and we'll talk about that in a few seconds, multiple companies that have been selling their Bitcoin, selling their Ethereum, selling their Solana. And a few months ago, people were saying they're never going to do it. They're never going to do it. Now we have the bulls saying, well, they're doing it because they're doing this and this and this and this, and they're making every excuse. But it's like, wait, but the narrative is broken. The narrative of what they said they were going to do is broken. And now we have Emery Digital CEO coming out and basically saying that JP Morgan, the bank, is basically trying to manipulate the price of MicroStrategy lower, literally ignoring the cycle, ignoring the whale selling, ignoring the risk factor of these companies, ignoring the idea that the stock indices are going to remove MicroStrategy or potentially remove MicroStrategy from the stock indices. And that's millions or billions of dollars of inflow regularly. Instead of that, it's going to be outflows. But again, this is not a coincidence, guys. We have been talking about since the middle of the year that the market cycle is ending and that we are going to rotate into a bear market. But the bulls, they don't change their thesis. They're like, no, what are you talking about? What? MicroStrategy is not going down in the price. And it's like, no, it is, and it has been. This is the one-year chart of MicroStrategy, where it was significantly lower than we were 1 year ago. That's not because of market manipulation. That's not because a bank is trying to manipulate the price down. And basically, Emery Digital CEO is basically talking about that they're raising the margin requirements for MicroStrategy stock. So if you want to borrow against it or lend out against it, like you have to have a certain amount of cash on the side, and that's called risk management, because JP Morgan understands all the risks that MicroStrategy is involved in, especially as the market is down. I mean, the price is down 60% on the 1 year chart. Bitcoin has been going up. MicroStrategy is going down. That's because MicroStrategy is diluting the shareholders. They're selling shares on the open market. They're due for about $600 million in dividends for all their preferred stock or debt facilities, Stride, Strike, Stretch, Stream, Strive. Almost $700 million a year they owe. And they're not making $700 million a year. On paper, it looks like they do, because in their new earnings reports, they're saying they're making $10 billion, but this is all unrealized capital gains. It's not actual cash flow, which is what Robert Kiyosaki is talking about, buying businesses with real cash flow. And so we have these people saying, oh no, like JP Morgan's trying to manipulate the price down. This is clear market fraud and market manipulation. It's like, no, they're doing risk management, as all of us should be doing in our portfolios. But like I've said extensively on this channel, these are the people we're trading against. They don't think that the market is going to go down, even though the market has clearly gone down and it's clearly on trending lower and much lower. And they're diluting the shares, and they have to pay all these dividends. And if they don't pay the dividends, everything will collapse under it. And I mean, I could just keep going on and on. You guys get it. My viewers on this channel, you guys are some of the smartest people, way, way ahead of the rest of the market, right? Because this is a company, right? They hold 4,000 Bitcoin, publicly traded as EMPD. So I wonder if they're worried about the same thing. Anyway, let's listen to what he says here. We're going to play this at 1.5 speed about this JP Morgan manipulating the price or trying to drive down the price of MicroStrategy. Guys, I don't think that this is true at all. Maybe by them saying that there's risk, yeah, the price is going to go down even further. But it doesn't mean that there's no risk. There is risk. It's so exhausting. But you know what is exhausting even more? Not making money. And all of us on this channel, we're making money in the markets, whether the market goes up or whether the market goes down, because we understand how the markets operate. And we've been so ahead of this, so ahead of this. I mean, literally, if any of my viewers, which I'm sure many of you guys have, if you bought, let's say SMST, right? This is a daily inverse 2x. So it's a leveraged 2x short ETF. So if MicroStrategy goes up 10% on the day, this goes down 10% on the day. If MicroStrategy goes down 10% on the day, this goes up, 20%. It goes up double. It goes the opposite, double. So literally, if in the last 6 months, let me pull this back up. MicroStrategy in the last 6 months has gone down effectively from July till the end of November. It's gone down 63%, okay? Now, if we look at SMST, from July, okay, it went from $18, $17, and it's now up 363%. So if you would have put $10,000 into this in July, you would now have $36,000, if I'm doing the math correct, which I think I am, and potentially even higher, because, yeah, $36,000. But if you would have put $10,000 into MicroStrategy in July, you would be down to $4,000. Like, we're here to make money, guys. We're here to make money. And by the way, this trade also mirrored Jim Chanos's trade in the markets. And that's what we're here to do. And this is just one example. And do I think that it's over? Do I think the downtrend is over? I do think that there may be a correction back up. I don't know. The thing is, with MicroStrategy, there seems to be no bullish sentiment because they keep diluting the shares. They're due for all of this, these dividends that they have to pay, potentially have to pay, and there's no cash flow. They have done nothing to actually cash flow their business. And by the way, Wall Street called BS on their new accounting, because people are like, well, Cryptoviser, on their balance sheet, you can actually see that they made a profit in the last quarter. And the quarter before that, they made $10 billion. And it's like, okay, well, in July, when they said that they made $10 billion, what happened to the stock price after? Straight down. Wall Street called BS. So let's listen to what this Empery Digital CEO is saying. And again, publicly traded company. And he doesn't even understand how the market cycles work. Let's listen in.
All right, so some of the comments online, people are talking about some of the previous videos and the timing on JP Morgan, okay, and when they actually increased the margin requirement on MSTR. So let's look at that, right? So I have an email here from JP Morgan on July 7th, okay? That is when they did a firm-wide increase in the margin requirement for MSTR. Now, let's look at that, right? So we have a chart here, right? And I overlay the vol on that chart. Let's look at July 7th, this line here, okay? Now, on July 7th, the 90-day vol was going down between June and July. The 60-day vol is going down between June and July and continues to trend down. Stock price is stable, goes up for a bit, but now look, as they put this firm-wide margin requirement increase on MSTR, it goes up, but then it pretty much precipitously goes down, right? People had to liquidate that security. Now, there is no risk model at that time that would have told JP Morgan they should be increasing the margin requirement. This is a coordinated attack. All right, so some of the comments online.
Guys, I'm going to break down why he said, wait, hold on.
People had to liquidate that security. Now, there is no risk model at that time that would have told JP Morgan they should be increasing the margin requirement.
Yes, there is. What was that? Exactly what I just said earlier in today's video. I just literally said that in July, that was the first month or first earnings where strategy would be able to use their unrealized capital gains, right? Their paper profit that they haven't taken out of the market yet on their Bitcoin as actual earnings. And that's exactly what they did. And the market called BS. JP Morgan called BS before it even happened. They were like, no, they changing the way that accounting looks and works so that it could show that they have a profit, even though they don't actually have a profit because they have no cash flow. But guess what? These are the people that we're trading against. And the trades are so easy. And at the end of the day, guys, there's so many elements of this market that we have no control over, absolutely no control over. And so if I believe that the market is going down, even though I want it to go higher, even though I think the company's great, like think about NVIDIA, think about Palantir. These companies are going to change the way that we interact with technology from an AI perspective and all of this, right? It's really good for the future in certain aspects, really bad for certain aspects. But at the end of the day, I think it's a net positive, right? And that doesn't mean that the stock is not going to come down. That doesn't mean that we are not in a bubble. That doesn't mean, and so even though that I think the companies are good and that they are going to still make a ton of money and still continue to grow and get a lot of business and a lot of new customers and create a lot of new technologies, I can't control what the market's going to do. And so everybody's been talking about AI bubble, AI bubble, AI bubble, AI bubble, short this, short this, short this, short this. So if I know where the market's going, lower, corrective phase, but I don't change my thesis, I'm going to lose money. We're here to make money. So what do? Bet against the market going higher. I mean, NVIDIA's already at $5 trillion market cap. Could it go to 10 trillion? Of course. But what is more likely? It's going to come down 25% from 5 trillion to, to 4 trillion, or it's going to go up to 10 trillion. Most likely it's going to come down. So regardless of what I think, regardless of what I want, if I want to make money, I bet against it. So unfortunately, these digital asset treasury companies, they only have one business model, one thing that they do, and that's just buy crypto. They have no cash flow, no cash flowing businesses for the most part, and this is what they're now doing. Now they're selling. FG Nexus, once eager to raise $5 billion, sells over 10,000 Ethereum to fund share buybacks. We're also seeing Anthony Pompliano's company now has an activist hedge fund investor that revealed 7.7% stake in the company and said that they want the company to renegotiate their pay package for their executives and sponsors because they're not making any money and the stock prices keep going down. Grant Cardone, now he's bringing up Bitcoin treasury companies like Nakamoto, Kindly MD, should immediately leverage their assets remaining to seek new leadership and direction before it's too late. They missed the SEC filing. They have no cash flow, imminent delisting from the stock exchange because now it's under $1. Under $1 is considered a penny stock. And worst of all, no exit strategy. And here's the situation. Most of these companies, this is same thing. They have basically no cash flow. They have imminent delistings. They're down 97% before the Bitcoin price has even fallen. And here's the deal. Once the investors, like the Cardones that did invest in Nakamoto, from my understanding, once they start getting involved and the activist investors start getting involved, it's over. It's over for these companies. These people like Anthony Pompliano that just he's a very smart individual. Let me be very clear about that. I'm not anti-Anthony Pompliano. He's a very smart individual, very smart investor. But he effed up. I mean, I don't think that they should have been buying the Bitcoin when they raised the money. They should have raised the cash and then held the cash, or you put it in treasuries until the market corrected down and then buy the Bitcoin. Then they would have been a better buy than MicroStrategy. But they didn't do that. None of these Bitcoin treasury companies, they all bought the top of the market effectively, over $100,000. And now we're under that. So they're all underwater. And most of these stock prices are down substantially. And so once you have this, if they do get rid of the leadership that's in there already, the new leadership are selling the coins. That's it. Whether it's all the coins or some of the coins or a little bit, they're going to sell some of the coins, period. Period. Because that's the only way to actually show the market that they're reversing the strategy and that they're coming up with an actual thesis and strategy to the business. And so that is not going to happen just yet. This is going to take probably 6 to 12 months. And so that may be the catalyst for the bottom of the bear market. That may be the final push down before we actually hit the bottom of the market when these Bitcoin treasury companies capitulate. And they will. They're already capitulating. They're already selling the Bitcoin. Meanwhile, Nakamoto's current CEO, David Bailey, said, just to clarify, we didn't sell Bitcoin. We invested Bitcoin across several international Bitcoin treasury companies like Treasury Bitcoin, Metaplanet, and Future Hodlings as part of our core strategy in monetizing our Bitcoin balance sheet. Our direct Bitcoin balance does not capture the value of these equity investments. So he's basically selling Bitcoin, saying he's not selling it, but he's selling the Bitcoin to then go buy these Bitcoin treasury company stocks that are also not cash flowing and are also down, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90%. This is financial illiteracy at its finest, in my view. Again, and the thing is, Nakamoto's talk keeps, David Bailey's like pinpoint focused on, well, we have the option to acquire some big cash flowing businesses like Bitcoin Magazine and Bitcoin conferences. But here's the deal. There's nothing proprietary about a Bitcoin conference. Anybody can create a Bitcoin conference. And do they actually make that much money? Maybe they make $5-10 million in revenue or profit a year, but that's nothing, right? It's really not that much. And so he's pinpoint focused on that. But instead of adjusting and saying, no, you know what, we're going to buy an actual business. We're going to buy a hedge fund. We're going to buy this. We're going to trade the market as well, but that's not what they're doing. They're just buying more of the same thing, circular financing. And the market is calling BS on this. And again, this is going to accelerate or push the downtrend even more in these stocks. I mean, to Grant Cardone's point, this stock, Nakamoto, is already under 50 cents. Now, if it goes to 5 cents or below, I think we should all think about adding it to our portfolio. But until then, we're going to continue to see this downtrend. And it has nothing to do with JP Morgan wanting the prices to, I'm sure JP Morgan wants the prices to go down as well, but they're not changing their margin requirements to manipulate the price. They're changing the margin requirements because of the risk. And the fact that these companies, he obviously is a Bitcoin treasury company as well, but they're not even saying how risky this whole thing is and how risky this MicroStrategy thesis is. I think that MicroStrategy in the long term is going to be okay. I say this on almost every video, but that doesn't mean that the price is not going to go down precipitously. Like I told my viewers like 3-4 months ago that MicroStrategy, when it was at $350, should be at $220 at a minimum. And now we're under that. And now I'm saying it's going to be under $100 in very, very short period of time. Within the next 6 to 12 months, it's going to be under $100. Almost definitely. And all these other products are going to be much lower too. But this is going to I'm going to flip bullish at some point. We're not there just yet, but I am going to flip bullish on MicroStrategy and all this because of the underlying thesis and the fact that at some point we are going to bottom out. And if we bottom out, the only direction after that is up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments of this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.